Welcome back to Fresh Thinking. I'm your host, Susan Havlin, and today we're talking about streamlining your workflow for mineral resource estimation and grade control. Joining me is Greg Zhang, a seasoned geologist and workflow specialist. Greg, thanks for coming onto the show.
Thanks, Susan. It's always good to talk about how we can make the workflow smarter and not just faster.
So let's start with the reason behind this topic. Why do you think it's so important to streamline our estimation workflows?
Thanks. So because any material error at the estimation or grade control stage will just echo through the entire mine value chain. And complex methods like multiple indicator kriging were designed to handle nonlinear grade distribution, but they often require probably dozen or even hundreds of steps to get it done, and which you need to customize the script. And this complexity distracts geologists from what they do best, interpret the geology, and can always lead to overlooked flaw because the focus shifts from the ore body to the process. Where streamlined workflow can free geologists from to apply critical thinking where that's the most important, geology.
Oh, that's a really good point. So streamlining isn't just about removing rigor, it's about removing unnecessary overhead?
Exactly. So automation can be positive when it tackles repetitive tasks, but there is a risk of creating black box workflows where that no one fully understands what's going on behind the scene. For example, the industry's return to simpler ordinary kriging or has been there for decades instead of moving forwards. And that's because ordinary kriging is just simpler and more auditable, and everyone can understand. So that's why streamlining means design the workflows that preserve geologists' insight, but also use automation judiciously and remain transparent.
Okay. So beyond tailoring the workflow itself, what are the benefits of streamlining?
Okay, so there are a couple. So first is efficiency and savings. So by simplifying complex methods and automating only the tedious parts, so you free up geologists to focus on the interpretation, the risk assessment. So the second is better decision quality. So streamlined workflows are easier to audit and interpret, which reduces the likelihood of making errors. And all misclassification always stems from geological oversimplification and other subtle inaccuracies. So streamlined workflow allows you to catch those errors in the early stage or easier. And the third one is improved collaboration. So when you document your workflows and interrogate them into a single data platform, so whichever it is, so everyone from geologists to planners and to the geometallurgists, they can understand what's behind. And that also gives you the one single truth where everyone can benchmark with.
So Greg, you mentioned misclassification. So without discussing sampling in depth, can you explain how a streamlined workflow helps prevent this misclassification?
Sure thing. And misclassification isn't usually the result of one bad step. It's accumulation of small errors, like oversimplified dig boundaries or uncorrect blast movement, and that distort the grades as materials moves from the model to the mill. And streamlined workflows incorporates reconciliation feedback loops so that production data feeds back into the model. And they also integrate tools like blast offset modeling and real-time dig zone reclassification to adjust plans before truck movement. This dynamic approach catches variance early and prevents misclassification from becoming permanent loss.
And I suppose it also ties into resource models and reserves.
Absolutely. So mineral resource estimation is a tightly coupled and complex process. So errors here can lead to material consequences. Streamlined, customized workflow help ensure that geological interpretation and grade estimation are aligned. They make it easier to update models, communicate changes, and more importantly, maintain transparency, which ultimately benefits mine planning, scheduling, and financial forecasting.
So for the listeners who want to start streamlining, like what practical steps do you recommend?
I would say begin by mapping your current workflow, what steps add value and which are just artifacts of old methods. So simplify where possible. For example, if you are using MIK because of historical preference or just the complexity or by the nature, probably establish very clear documentation and version control so that everyone understands the process. Integrate your modeling software with other operational systems to create a single source of truth. And finally, schedule regular peer reviews and audits to ensure that workflow remains fit for the purpose.
That's a good one. I do agree with the peer review and audits. That's very important. So thanks. That's excellent advice, Greg. Thanks for unpacking why streamlining complex estimation methods is so important and how customization ties into deposits variability. It sounds like the key is to keeping workflows lean, transparent, and adaptable.
Exactly. So streamlining is not about cutting corners. It's about eliminating wasted effort so we can focus on the geoscience and make better decisions. Thanks for having me, Susan.
Thank you, Greg. That's all for this episode of Fresh Thinking. If you enjoyed our discussion, please share it and stay tuned for more insights on mining innovation.